Jason McDonald, December 12, 2017. So, if you haven't seen the latest episode of The Walking Dead, which would be the mid-season finale that just aired, you may want to turn away now. I'm going to be discussing some rather big spoilers for the show, and if you're still catching up, I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, okay? So if you're reading beyond this point, then that means you want to see the spoiler. Here we go. Well, I can honestly say that of all the things to have happened on The Walking Dead, the most recent mid-season finale has to be the most shocking. As Negan and his crew struck back at Rick and friends, there were certainly bound to be casualties, but I never would have guessed it would be little Carl Grimes, and from a random-ass walker bite no less. What the hell? What a crappy way to write out a character that had been a zombie-killing machine and who had a great deal of potential left in the show. And make no mistake, it appears that Carl was definitely written out for good despite the open-ended conclusion. Now just why was Carl written off? Early rumors suggested that it may have been actor Chandler Riggs who wanted out, but now it appears that the actor was actually fired from the long-running show. Chandler Riggs' dad William Riggs has taken to Facebook to air his grievance with showrunner Scott Gimple, who he blames for Chandler no longer being on the show. Here's what he had to say about how Scott handled the situation. Watching Gimple fire my son 2 weeks before his 18th birthday after telling him they wanted him for the next 3 years was disappointing. I never trusted Gimple or AMC, but Chandler did. I know how much it hurt him. But we do absolutely know how lucky we have been to be a part of it all and appreciate all of the love from fans all these years. And what of the former heir to the Grimes throne? What does he have to say about his departure? Here's what he had to say to The Hollywood Reporter. I was planning on going to college until I found out. I found out when I was doing rehearsals for episode 6 back in June. It was quite the shocker for me, Andy, and everyone, because I don't think anyone saw it coming. It's definitely not a bad thing because it has been awesome being on the show, but now I get to go and do a lot of other stuff that I haven't gotten to do before. Scott wanted to meet in person because it was such a big deal. We had just finished rehearsing for a scene in episode 6 and he wanted to meet with me and my mom and dad and talk about what's going to happen. Probably the biggest kicker is that Chandler says he had just bought a house so that he could live near the set while they filmed. Yikes. So why the sudden change? What drove them to kill Carl? Well, it turns out Scott and the team couldn't figure out how to make Rick softer, and so they figured killing his son would do the trick. Yeah? In the comics, Scott was trying to figure out why there was a hole between Rick slitting Negan's throat at the end of the All Out War arc, and then there's the time jump and Negan is alive and in prison and Rick didn't kill Negan. Scott was trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between Rick not wanting to kill Negan and Rick also really wanting to kill Negan, which he does right now in the show's story. Scott's way to get around that was to make Carl this really humanitarian figure and person who could see the good in people and see that people can change and not everyone out there is bad. That's what Carl's talk to Rick was in this episode. There's no way that they can kill every one of the saviors and not everyone is a bad person, and there has to be some way forward than just killing people. That's insane. Rick is surrounded by plenty of people who are trying to bring some humanity back to the world. Morgan seemed like a prime candidate for that before he started going crazy again, and then there's Jesus, who is actively championing that they take prisoners with Maggie. And of course Gabriel, though he's still stuck at the sanctuary. It just doesn't make any sense for them to kill off Carl to make Rick take it easier on Negan. If anything, something like this should propel him even further down the path of destruction. What do you think? Was it a mistake to kill Carl? Was it the right call? Let us know below. Related.